right up and get lost in the fun house with Greg Poe and Blondie.
Hey, I thought we could just go around and since Halloween's coming up, I
Yeah, it
know we've all
Yay!
got like our favorites, our staples, or whatever that we like to watch to get us in the mood for Halloween.
You go to
know.
Staples on Halloween?
Well, you know.
Very frightening place.
Depends on which one you go to.
She goes there for her Halloween office supplies.
You know, some of us celebrate all year long, we watch the spooky movies, but, there's just, what's your favorites that you like to watch around Halloween time? So,
Well, there's something
Great
about, there's something about Halloween where we like watching spooky movies and horror movies all throughout the year, and we're big fans of those, but there's some that, no matter how many times you've seen them, are kind of like a tradition on Halloween.
Yeah.
And Brett and I, since he was real little, have always had the traditional Halloween of watching the original It miniseries that was on television with Tim Curry playing It. And yeah, that's a long one if you're watching, the full thing, but
Which you should.
Which you should, because it is downright amazing. So yeah, I mean, for me, I want a little bit of the dancing clown on Halloween, and another thing I try to do on Halloween is watch some of the old classic 1930s Universal horror films.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean that's what embodies Halloween for me. I mean, everybody's got their different things. Well, Mitch Rogers, since you're sitting here right beside me on the couch here in the studio on the hill in the fun house, you're our resident spooky, haunted horror movie expert. What say you about your favorite movies to watch on the spookiest of holidays?
Well, like you, I do watch some of the old Universal movies, especially Frankenstein, and I'm a huge Frankenstein buff.
Yes, James Whale.
Oh, yeah. Trick or Treat is another good one.
Oh, that's
a good one.
Yeah.
This is also kind of weird, but, well, for me it is. The entire series of Friday the 13th, from the first one all the way up to Freddy versus Jason, primarily because when I was in high school,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I celebrate Halloween like 3 months in advance, so it's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
You're starting a little late.
That kind of well, the main reason for Friday the 13th is back when I was in high school, the channel AMC had Monster Fest. Now it's called like Fear Fest or
I
some
remember that,
stupid
yeah.
stuff. Well, before it was a marathon of The Walking Dead, they'd play these things called horror movies.
Actual horror
And they would
movies.
actually play the whole series of Friday the 13th, like one a night.
Right.
Because Monster Fest was always 2 weeks. The first week, was
Right.
random horror movies like Prophecy, if you remember that one, and The
Yeah.
Omen. And but each night, the first week was always Friday the 13th. Second week, every night was Halloween.
Right.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I've always been more of a fan of Friday the 13th. So
I've always leaned more towards that myself, yeah.
So when AMC stopped, they kind of still have it going somewhat, but it's more focused on the Walking Dead premiere than actual horror movies. So I kind of kept that tradition going. Each Halloween season, I watched the whole series from 1 to I think 11 is Freddy versus Jason. Like, is that
I
the
think
11th
so.
one?
Yeah, I believe.
I don't watch the crappy remake just because it's crappy. But
Yeah, true. Very true.
That's how you really feel.
Brett was born on Friday the 13th.
that explains a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
Was he really?
Yeah.
America's Brow.
Yeah, America's Brow was born on Friday the 13th.
Nice.
That's what we call our lucky day. We say Friday the 13th is our lucky day. It's the rest of them we have to worry about.
Excellent.
Excellent.
I mean, of course, it's got to be Nightmare Before Christmas
So that's what I was going to
on Halloween proper.
Right.
But two others that, and Trick or Treat as well. I love
Amazing.
Good
Trick or
movie.
Treat.
movie.
Real good.
Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's Ladder.
That is-
Oh.
That is probably my favorite film ever.
That is
Yes.
a great
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one and Identity with
Yeah.
John Cusack.
Yeah.
Those are my
that's
two.
That's a weird movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And those are my two.
They go together, but I'm not going to say why, just for spoilers. But they do go together. I can see
Yeah,
why.
I like the psychological stuff. Yeah, and I like the kooky stuff too, like Adam's Family
Yeah.
and Adam's Family Values.
Oh,
Because
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Yes.
yeah.
It's got some of the best jokes.
They are both good in their own individual rights. I will
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah.
If I want to get really scared earlier in the day on Halloween,
Yeah.
I'll cut on The View for a minute, and then
Oh god.
it scares the daylights out of me. But I can't watch more than about 30 seconds, and then I'm just
Really?
terrified and up under the
Makes me
blankets.
fall asleep.
I'm just terrified and up under the blankets. But no, and Blondie and I actually watched what was it, Section 9?
Session 9.
Section
Section
9.
nine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm saying Section 9.
What'd you guys think?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
That's really
yeah,
good.
Yeah, really
Like-
good.
I like that.
It's a slow burn. Like it's a real slow burn, you know. You kind of today it's like everybody wants the shorter
Yeah.
things. Have you noticed like Netflix is all shows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's all shorter stuff
Mm-hmm.
now because it's like the attention span is so short now. It's like, what happened to sitting in a theater or your dark living room and just
Darkened theater.
yeah, and going on this journey
Yeah.
for an hour and a half, 2 hours? See, I love that.
No, we could binge. We could binge
That's
like 20 episodes in a row, but I
Right.
can't watch an hour and a half long movie.
My wife and I every year watch Haunted Honeymoon.
Yeah.
With-
That's a cool one.
Gene Wilder, Gilda Radner,
Yeah.
and yeah, love Gene Wilder.
What I do have to add one thing that's tradition going all the way back to me and my younger brother
Yeah,
is every year, and y'all might have seen this, but in the 70s and the mid to late 70s and I think into the 80s, right before we'd go out trick-or-treating, my brother and I, we would and this is something that, to this day, I mean, it's one of the things that him and I always shared, and him and I always love it, and it's a huge thing. It always makes me think of him every time I see it, is the old Disney Halloween special.
Yeah.
The little song, trick or treat, trick or treat,
Yeah.
trick or treat for Halloween. And yeah, it was a really cool thing. But Blondie, what would you say your Halloween, which is usually mine because you're over there sitting there watching it with me and I'm controlling the remote.
Yeah, it's usually whatever is on over there, but
whatever you want to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna watch this now, but I don't know. It's not a scary movie, but it's one that I like to watch every once in a while, and I usually bring it out around Halloween. But I like Corpse Bride,
Ooh, I love Corpse
good one.
Bride.
Yeah, that totally goes.
so that's one of my favorite ones to watch.
Tim Burton is like
awesome.
the perfect director for Halloween.
Yes, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I like most Tim Burton's movies.
Yeah. Sleepy Hollow is a good Halloween one.
It is.
That's a really good
It
one
is.
too.
Yeah.
Both the original
With
short
Christopher
story and Tim Burton's movie
Yeah,
were both.
yeah.
were
I actually
both
like
good.
and I actually also like the going along with the Disney Halloween special when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was a big thing with they would also do the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would have
Strange combo though. I
Yeah,
will
it
say.
was a strange combo, but they put
That's
them together.
good.
And Blondie and I went down to Halloween one year at Disney and celebrated it down there and did the whole Disney and then over the
Nice.
Universal thing.
Yeah.
And the Disney parade is a haunted Halloween parade.
And they
you've
had
got
the
people from the
headless
Haunted Mansion and the
horseman.
Pirates of the Caribbean and everybody like that. But it's led and it gets dead quiet. Mm-hmm. And all
you
of a sudden
can just
you
hear
hear
that
click, 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 click,
Nice.
and then
Yeah.
it's the Headless Horseman with the pumpkin and everything riding on the
It's
back of it.
awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. And
Were
then
they
you've
so-
got the barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
That's on Main Street down there. They're going around and they're singing, but they're dressed up in their barbershop quartet outfits, but their faces are done like ghouls.
Yeah.
And
nice.
they're singing the Disney Headless Horseman. They're singing Grim Grinning Ghosts and
All
a
the
few other
classics.
Disney villain songs. And the villains
Nice.
take over the park. It's really cool.
Were they doing the Haunted Mansion like taken over by Nightmare Before Christmas?
They only do that. We found out to our sadness, they only do that in California at Disneyland.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer.
And in a way, I
It
was
is.
bummed, but then in a way, I was like, because I'm such a fan of the Haunted Mansion,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was
know you
kind of
are.
like, man,
What'd you think of the movie?
I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, I really did. Because
You even have to like vocalize that you hate
Yeah.
it. It's kind of like a common. It's like the Star Wars prequels. It's
Yes.
like you don't even have to ask, "Do you like that?"
Yes.
It's how much do you hate it.
Gotcha.
yes, that's probably how you could rate that one.
I don't think I've ever actually seen it.
You've done yourself a great service, sir.
Okay.
Well, it's weird because I think everybody, Eddie Murphy, everybody. I mean, everybody was good at what they did, but it's like what they were doing shouldn't have been done.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, it's just like they tried to.
Trying too hard for something.
Exactly. Well, in the early days of the Haunted Mansion, because if I'm not mistaken, I think this was one of the things. Well, Walt was working on. It's one of the first things he was working on at Disneyland, and then was in the process of getting everything situated, and then the World's Fair came along, and he had to do two things for. He had to do two things for the World's Fair, which, if I'm not mistaken, it was Small World and Carousel of Progress. Mm-hmm. And right after that, he died. And so it was like one of the first things they had to finish. And two different people, two different Imagineers stepped up and were supposed to be working together on the Haunted Mansion. Mm-hmm. But they both had completely different approaches. One wanted it to be full of gags and more comedic and friendly and family friendly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other one wanted it to be more dark. And that's why they finally decided upon, when you first go into the Haunted Mansion, the first half of the ride is really dark and sinister
okay,
and
so-
kind of creepy and
yeah,
spooky
yeah.
until you get down to the graveyard. And then you're
The
in
busts
a
are
party.
singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of people talk about the story of it is like when you are up in the attic and you see the bride.
Yeah.
And then the doom buggy turns around backwards and you go over the balcony and down through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that hint that part of the story, Disney didn't want to officially say it, but that is supposed to simulate you getting thrown off either by the Hatbox Ghost or the bride, and you're getting thrown to your death. And the ghosts in the first half were trying to scare you, but in the second half they're welcoming you to the party.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
you know,
Okay.
it's kind of a unique kind of thing.
Yeah.
We were talking about different things a minute ago, and one of the things I had two in mind, and one's kind of slipped my mind for now. I hope I think about it. But one of the things I heard you guys bring up, the Addams Family.
Oh yeah.
What's everybody think so far about the? Oh, I know what the other one is. But for the Addams Family, what's everybody thinking about the new Addams Family film
movie?
that's supposed to be
I
coming
am
out?
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm too.
I am, because not only is it the Addams Family,
Yeah.
but like the style that I've noticed that, of the characters, like the way they're designed, look a lot like Charles Adams' original
Yeah.
story
And
or
Yeah.
comics.
Blondie's over there, kind of like shriveling up because she knows I'm about to tell this story. But I when the first day I saw the heard the announcement, because I came late to the game, I didn't even know they were doing it, and then I was going through YouTube and I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so Blondie comes over for date night. We're sitting there, and I said, hey, did you see that? I said, yeah. It looks good, but I'm not so sure about the style and all. And then I'm like, no. But then once I showed her, and she understood that it was Charles Adams, then she was all on board and got into it.
Yeah.
Because they had a
Okay,
cartoon
I gotta like it.
after the movie came out in the 90s where they
Yeah.
recycled the style of those old comic strips for
Right, well-
the designs.
Well, she was thinking they're getting so far away from the TV show, and I get that, but
Yeah, because I'd never seen the original, so to
But
me
they
they
look
look
exactly-
like, what the crap is
Oh,
this?
okay.
that's exactly how he drew them. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
So I'm on board now.
yeah, she's on board now, so we're really excited.
Speaking of the Addams Family, have you seen the picture going around the internet of the Wednesday knockoff at Walmart?
No.
What?
Yeah, it's
What?
it's a Wednesday Addams costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't say that.
Okay.
What is it called?
Midweek Cutie.
Oh, I love it. I love the names of the knockoff
I do.
costumes.
I
At
love
least
the
it's
name.
not Hump Day.
Oh, ba-doom-tsh. And Blondie knows because I nothing kills me like going to a comic shop. I mean, comic shop. Bah, 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 bah. You can tell where my life's always at.
Hey, Richard.
But, yeah. Hey, Richard, what's up? But seriously, when I go to a Halloween shop or whatever around Halloween, and I go walking in and up in the window, they take some character, Usually it's a comic character, and it's like a male character, and they do the female version of the costume,
Sassy.
and they call it sassy whatever.
Yeah.
And it was bad enough over and over I was seeing these things until like The Walking Dead got popular, and they actually did a sassy Rick Grimes, and it's a female Rick Grimes, and it's called Sassy Rick Grimes, and I'm like, this is just over the top, just
A bit.
wrong. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad.
I'm trying to think of a sassy Rick Grimes. I mean, obviously the hat, the gun. Was the
Well, the shirt
cop
was
top, like-
the crop
like open
top.
and tied?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was, and then the booty shorts and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy. But here's another thing that
I made Greg Bo put it back. I told him he wouldn't fit in it.
hey, I look cute in that costume. By the way.
I bet you did.
Oh, I did. You know, so another thing, and this was what I was thinking about a minute ago, is I was very surprised because to me, this series that I'm going to talk about next, each season is hit and miss to me. Like one season will be incredibly great and just mind blowing, and then one season I'll be like, and I'll just end up not even making
I
it
know
all the
what
way
you're talking
through.
about.
You'd probably do, and I can't make it all the way through it. But I just saw the trailer a couple of weeks ago for the new season of American Horror Story.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And they're doing it as a love letter to the 80s with all they're all like camp counselors.
Yes, 1984.
Yes.
Nice.
And they have some kind of generic, legendary.
It's
Maniac
the guy
monster or
that
something.
played. What was the clown in season 3? No, 4. Not Giggles, because that's what his
no.
name is now. It's the same.
Why am I
actor playing
forgetting
a
this?
killer
This
clown.
is so wrong. Yeah, and I love that actor too. Twisty.
Twisty.
Yeah, Twisty was awesome.
Yeah, the guy that played
But
Twisty the clown.
I love that
played
actor.
A serial killer clown,
Look up his name while we're
John
sitting there.
Carroll Lynch.
John Carroll Lynch.
There you go.
He is
was-
a
yeah.
phenomenal actor. I mean, I started seeing. Wasn't he on the Drew Carey show?
His brother,
Yeah.
who married Mimi, the receptionist
Yeah.
that Drew
Nice.
hated.
Yeah, and
Mitchipedia there.
that's the first time I'd ever. Yeah, there we go. So,
If it's horror movies and
Yes.
in 90s sitcoms, I'm your go-to guy.
well, we had you here. Yeah, this just worked out perfect. But that particular actor. That's the first time I saw him was on the Drew Carey show.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing him show up in all these different movies and stuff. And to me, he's actually become one of my favorite character actors. I mean, he's just
He was
he's
great
very
in
talented.
Fargo
Yes.
as the chief's husband,
Yeah.
who was all bent out of shape because his art didn't get picked for a postage stamp.
Yeah.
And well, it wasn't the main one. It was like the cheap stamp, that like, if you need like a cent added to your mail, it's the one you got.
But yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. But I just think it's so cool that because I grew up on those because my parents did not want me to see those movies, and we had a neighbor who had like this big family game room downstairs in the basement, old converted basement, and had a television down there, and was one of the first to get like Betamax.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's how old I am. And so we would all go hang out over there, and, I'd hang out with the Fonz and Potsy and Ralph Mouth, because that's about how old I am, it seems. But no, we'd get down there, and she had the girl whose house it was, she had an older sister who was in like late high school, and so when they'd go to the video store, they'd rent stuff for my friend, but then they'd also rent stuff for the older sister, and it was always stuff like Prom Night.
Talk about slow burn.
Yeah, yeah, right. And it'd be like Prom Night, Friday the 13th, The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
based
yeah,
on a
I
true
know it
story.
is. I mean, that's insane. So we would watch. So that's where I watched all those movies. But what was funny is as a kid, we'd be watching them late, and then we'd all have to walk home in different directions and by
right.
ourselves. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like, all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, man, we got to see that. Oh, that was great. We get about halfway back home, and all of a sudden it was just like,
Maybe I should run.
and everybody, you could just hear everybody running home
Yeah.
through the neighborhood. It was great. It was great.
Did you guys see Apocalypse? I just saw it on Netflix. I watched the first episode.
No.
American Horror Story. Apocalypse.
Oh yes, yeah,
Crossover.
yeah. Here's the thing: I saw that, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
give away anything, but for those who hadn't seen it, but the first
I'm on the fence.
several
sure I think
episodes.
about it yet.
What episode are you up to?
Oh, I just started it.
Okay, if you're keep watching it because halfway through
Yeah.
it makes sense,
Oh, okay.
and all of a sudden, one of the seasons that I consider,
Yeah.
you know how they blend seasons
Yeah.
from time to time.
Yeah.
One of the seasons that I considered it was one of my favorite seasons. They end up blending it. Yeah, they end up blending it.
Okay.
Is it the season not that's like the two big crossovers? Is it like a third one that they're
Third one,
hinting at?
yeah.
I mean, not
Not
the
even
third
hinting.
one,
I mean, they go
but-
full bang. Yeah, and a lot of stuff makes sense. And
Coven?
Well, that's one of the crossovers that they were. You know,
and
with it.
and I'll just say this: at one point, they go, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, they go through all the American Horror Story timelines.
Really?
Yeah. So it's if you can make it through that first little bit,
Okay.
the apocalypse,
Yeah.
it's like you kind of
Asylum
get
was my
rewarded.
favorite.
Yeah.
I loved Asylum.
See, I wasn't big on Asylum.
Really?
No.
Well,
it just
for
it
me-
just
I didn't like that
aliens and all
It was
kind of
horror
weird
and
stuff
aliens?
was going.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
it was
come
like yeah,
on.
I don't know.
I mean,
I was like,
Asylum is my favorite overall.
Yeah.
But my problem with American Horror Story, and I stopped watching it after. I'm trying to. The one before Hotel, I think it was Freak Show. Was Freak Show the one?
yeah,
right
you know,
before
Freak
Hotel?
Show.
Well,
I think that one was
Every-
one of my favorites.
well, every
couldn't get
You,
through
season
you like that little actress
that I've seen,
Yes.
it starts off amazing. You're into it. You know, you care about the characters.
Yeah.
Then it seems like halfway through, the writers stop caring and just kind of BS the rest of the season,
Yeah.
and it just fizzles.
Yeah.
Like, I was really looking
I
forward to
believe
Freak
that, yeah.
Show because I love carnivals. I love like the whole like circus freak type
Right,
atmosphere.
He's Carl Pilkington over here.
Yeah, I love
ahead.
clowns. And I was really looking forward to it. But then like right after like halfway through, like every other season up before and I'm sure after, it's like nothing really happens. And it just kind of fizzles to an end. There's no like big show off between the freaks and the serial killers.
Oh yeah.
It just ends. You know, and like the ultimate, you know, the villain of the whole, you know, season was just kind of wasn't his comeuppance more of a flashback, like
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, here he's dead, here it is. You know, it just
Yeah. No. I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
that's one of the reasons I stopped watching it, just because I got tired of really caring about the season, really caring about the characters. Then halfway through, it's like they either run out of ideas or just don't want to
Yeah.
do it anymore, and it just
Well, I'll tell
goes.
you what was even worse than that. And I'm just going to dive out. I'm just going to step slightly over the line for a minute and get outside of horror just for a second. But one of the things that did that for me, and you're going to laugh, but what was it called? Once Upon a Time? Is that what it was? Once Upon a
rip
Time.
off of Fables.
Well, I don't know, but it was like Once Upon a Time. I was loving that show. I mean, I was loving that show, you know. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, as the seasons went by, all of a sudden one season it just took such a turn for the worse. I didn't know what was going on, and
That's
I
kind
was
of how I felt. Yeah.
absolutely despising that show. I mean, I never
It
did
just
finish
kinda
it up.
lost
final
that
season and
magic.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it did.
Speaking of American Horror Story
Yeah.
and the actress, you guys seen Final Girls?
Nope.
It's very 80s.
Really?
Well, cool.
She
We'll have to
gets
check that out.
yeah
Well, speaking of, oh, sorry.
was an actress
Yeah.
in the 80s in these horror movies, and she lost her mom. So watching the movies is the only way she sees her mom, really,
Oh,
and she gets sucked in to the movie.
we have definitely got to watch that.
Like
gotta watch that.
Last Action Hero type sucked in.
Yeah,
Oh,
Make a note of that
Yeah.
on the phone.
I've got it if you guys want to take it.
Write that down because I want to check that out because that's got me written all over it.
You would
because
like it.
the 80s horror movies,
Yeah.
and then I like the whole thing because I was thinking the other day about, and gosh, I can't believe that you'll be able to know and tell me. Thank goodness But
He's pointing at me, Mitch Rogers.
yes, you couldn't see that. Yeah, but so some behind the scenes magic going on. But what was that? The character's name? I'm spazzing on everything right now, but his dad, it was like Frequency. That's what it was.
Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
And it was Frequency.
Was
and I
it
just
Jesus in that movie?
I don't know, but I'm just trying
Jim
to.
Caviezel?
Well, the thing I remember about it that hit me is that it was like through time,
Yeah,
based on that
yeah.
frequency, and he was actually able to change it,
Right.
and his dad with the cigarettes and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
they quit smoking for that particular, and it just hit me. It was just a really, really, really cool story. But so it sounds like it's kind of up that alley of jumping into something, and
Yeah, so she's
Yeah.
in there, and they're all being chased by this killer, and she's like trying to reconnect with her mom, who isn't her mom, who is a character
In the
great way to reconnect. I mean, yeah, hey, let's have some bonding time.
Yeah.
Mom, I love you. Who are you? I'm not even old enough to have a daughter. What?
Yeah,
Run from the guy with the machete.
Well, speaking of like 80s slasher type tropes in movies, a great movie y'all should check out. I don't know if any of y'all have Shudder, but there's a Shudder exclusive called Summer of '84
Oh yeah,
that is
yeah.
really good. It's
haven't
got
seen that.
Yeah.
the guy that played Randy Disher in Monk plays the dad in it.
Huh.
And one of the
You like that monk show?
I can't remember who the killer is. I'm like, he's been on a lot of stuff, but I can't like narrow
Colonel
it down.
Mustard.
Yeah, but it's it takes place in '84, and it's about a kid who's a conspiracy nut
Yeah.
who discovers that his next door neighbor is a serial killer, but because he's infatuated with all these whack job conspiracy theories, none of his friends believe him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that Rear Window type feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's like, very, very 80s, and it's got like a lot of those like 80s type tropes where he kind of has a crush on the girl who was his babysitter when he was a kid,
Huh.
and I'm like, you have like the friend who like comes from a broken home that, that was like all tropes of the 80s.
Right.
But it doesn't feel like a movie that's constantly referencing the 80s. It feels like a movie that was done in the 80s.
a little more organic.
Yeah, kind of like Stranger Things is, where people say it references, but it doesn't constantly throw in your face that it's the 80s.
Right.
I need to check that one out too.
But it takes place in the 80s, but it feels like it was made in the 80s
Right.
instead of something looking back on it.
Well, one of the things that I saw here recently, I've really got into, was that Mindhunter series, where it talks about
I've tried to
the
get into
serial
that.
killers and
The
stuff.
guy that played Kemper was great.
Right? But did you see the recent series?
No, I haven't
part
gotten to
two?
it yet.
All right. Well, I'll just say this much because it doesn't. It's
Because
not giving.
Kemper's creepy by himself. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's not giving anything away, but it's talking about the birth of the serial killer definition and how they created the department at the FBI and so on and so on. And in season 2, you know how they go through the whole thing and they have a murder like that's going on in the background and they're going to these guys to
Yeah.
solve. The second series really hit home because we were talking about a while ago about the the big Tylenol scare, the
Yeah.
product tampering scare. But there was another scare when I was young that affected everybody around here in the Deep South, and it was the Atlanta child murderer.
Yeah.
And
Did they catch him a few years ago?
well, they caught him. And but during that time,
Yeah, one of the few black serial killers in America.
yeah. But we're what, 3 hours from Atlanta? Because it took place in
It's
Atlanta.
like 2 hours.
Well, it's like 2 hours. I'm thinking about the traffic when you get into Atlanta. That's a whole another hour by itself.
Yeah,
But-
it takes
Yeah.
3
Atlanta's
hours.
an hour from Atlanta.
Well, so we're 2 hours from Atlanta, but because this was on the news, and I didn't think about it. I mean, every once in a while I think back about it because it was so shocking back at the time. But until I saw this, all of a sudden it started coming back to me about how often it was on the news, and my parents and all the other parents were talking about it, and being 2 hours away, even my parents and all the other parents in the neighborhood. I mean, I grew up, and all you young people who are listening to this on your various devices, I know this is hard to believe, but we used to all play outside, And we would all play
There's
outside in the
outside?
yeah, I know, right? And we would play outside all through the summer and in the neighborhoods and run around, kick the cans and capture the flag and all this good kind of stuff. And
Basically, they just find garbage and play with it.
yeah, pretty much. And you know, like I said earlier, we'd go to a lot of people's houses and watch movies late at night and stuff like that. That all ended when that was going on up here because our parents were so scared based on what was coming out of Atlanta and Atlanta being 2 hours from us that I mean it even affected us. I don't know how far, could have been across the whole United States for all I know, but I know up there, you know, where I'm from, 2 hours away from Atlanta, I was like, you know, my parents would not let me go outside, you know, and play. So
Well, I'm also,
weird thing.
you know, just in South Carolina, you had like Pee Wee Gaskins
Yes.
and the Gaffney Strangler was another one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've
He's
had
on
our
our
own.
record as well.
Oh, he is.
We got a song about him.
Which one, the original or the
Well,
one
he sings
from
backup in
2000
one of the-
something? Well, yeah, because there was two Gaffney Stranglers actually, but I'm sure you're talking about the first one, right, from like the 60s or 50s or something.
The one with the water wheel lore.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Funny story. Everyone here knows Dal
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Kelsey. He did
Dal.
Great guy. Hey,
Yeah,
Dal.
yeah,
Hey, Dal.
I love Dal.
I love Dal.
Shout
He's
out.
a great guy.
He did a like a YouTube show called Haunted Echoes.
Yeah.
And he did like the first episode on the Gaffney Strangler and like the ghost stories that came out after.
That's how I found out about it.
Oh, really? Awesome.
That show, I'm like, I gotta
Small
put this on
world.
the record.
Small world.
We have to at least mention Clue.
Yes.
Yes.
Tim Curry. We
Yeah.
watched that the other night.
That's one of your favorites,
That is
isn't it?
one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Wasn't Michael
Oh,
McKean
I love
Colonel
Clue.
Mustard?
Dagger.
Who's Colonel Mustard?
Run down the hole.
What's his
I
name?
I know
love
Tim
it.
Curry was the
I
butler.
love
Yeah.
it.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard was the guy that played Roseanne's boss in the diner. He's a famous comedian. He was
Hold on. Hold on.
Trying to
He's
make
a
a fool
famous
out of me.
artist too.
You don't
Martin
need to
Mull.
know from
Yeah,
me.
Martin
so
Mull.
Yeah, he's one of those character actors
Yeah.
that if you saw
I'm a butler.
the Cool
I butler.
Kids,
Yes.
the show, he was awesome in that show.
Yeah, he's funny. He's funny about everything he does. Blondie's given us the wrap-up sign, saying I've gone
saved
too
your
long, I guess. So, well, with
Oh, I'm
that,
about to kill you.
what?
No.
it is Halloween.
Halloween. If you want me, I'll be locked in her basement, probably.
Two more honorable mentions:
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus and The Shining.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
All right.
Monster Squad.
I smell children.
So I guess, well, we've talked about just about everything. So, guess it's time to get lost.
In the fun house.
Stay scary.